Hi there, traders. It was a historic week for me, not for pips made, not for the amount of trades, and not for the profit I just made in relative return. Nope, I didn't make a single trade. I have never done that before when it wasn't a holiday weekend or if I was on vacation. No, actually, if I was on vacation, I probably still would have made a trade of some sort. But that was really because there wasn't anything to do. There were no trades. There nothing to play in the cards. It looks like we're having movement, but these are daily, slow, grinding moves where we're just moving from one side of the range to the other, and we'll go through that briefly. But it's not keen for my sort of trading plan where I'm looking for breakouts of the larger range, and that has been the case, it seems like, for about the last 4 weeks. We've just been drifting. I cannot wait for volatility to pick up, and but I have been looking at other things in the Euro JPY and the Great Britain JPY where the range is narrowing to a point where I may actually start considering just altering the plan a little bit, and that I'm going to have to think about, and it'll basically just be looking for pairs to shoot past the average true range by a certain amount, and then just looking to fade the moves. But let's go ahead and look at the one. There's two trades that, I guess were somewhat interesting today, just because they hadn't blown out the ranges so much. There has been movement in the Euro and, in New Zealand and the Aussie pairs, but they all happened in Asian trading, and that kind of blows out our ranges right from the get-go, unless we're going to get exaggerated moves. You can see that in the Euro JPY we had a 130-150. Then by the time we had a signal to do a move, it had already almost gone 200 pips. In the Great Britain JPY, you can see that this pair, on the other hand, started the day about 156.20, and we had a signal to go short right about here at 154.96. And I did pass in that trade, and I did post this last week. And I don't know, these lines are always clear when I make them, when I put it, and then once I print it out, it comes squiggly like this. I did post this, that the August average true ranges for the majors and for the pairs I like to look at. And this is what I'm always referring to as the average true ranges. This is just basically the average amount of pips that these pairs have moved in a day for the last 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and 8 weeks. You can see it's coming down a little bit. The Euro, it's amazingly come down. Before the beginning of the summer, we were well over 100 in the Euro. We're about 140 in the Great Britain, Aussie about 120, USD 100, and these yen pairs we were up about the 200s, and the Aussies. The Aussies have actually come down a little bit, and the New Zealanders, they've actually kind of held up on their own. So what we're going to see, though, is I'm pretty sure this volatility will pick up again. But this is what I'm referring to when I'm talking about these average true ranges. You can always come back. That's on the blog, and it's just under average true ranges volatility, and it is right. Bam, right there on the right on the side. And also another thing that I've added to the blog now that you're talking about it is this scrolling chart with scroller that has all the charts, and this has all the whenever I update them in the blog, they automatically go on the scroll. And I am trying to figure out, I'm probably do this afternoon, how to put this on a page so it'll just scroll across all the time, and so there'll be no question of where you can find charts. But that's not why you came here to talk to me. All right, so you can see that in the Great Britain JPY, I forgot to get the number. Great Britain JPY, the average true range was about 150 pips, and you can see at that point the pair had moved down from 156.20 to 156.94, so let's say 130 pips. But this is why I didn't go in the trade, because it had shot down and came back. And if we looked at many of the majors, like if I remember correctly, this Great Britain pair is a perfect example of that. It shot up almost 100 pips right off the news, and then just continued to drift back down lower throughout the remainder of the day. And if I had to bet my cards on it, I would say that next week this pair will go right back into this range. The Euro JP, but the Great Britain JPY, you can see I could have gone in that trade, but not right there. When we see the drifting back up and then a push back down, but this wouldn't be a typical setup, but it is a nice setup. You do like to see a push down towards a trend line, and then a push down. And you could have gone in there at 154.99 and could have nailed about 50 pips on that trade. It's not a typical trade, but it would have been one that worked, and it's something that I need to start looking at in the yen pairs more so. It's just a push back to the trendline resistances. Let's just go through all the pairs real quick and the ones that I normally do trades in. In the Euro New Zealand, you can see that we had the break. This would have been a 100 pip trade, and this is what I was pretty disappointed about today. If I had bought before the news, but you can't do that. because, I mean, if we look, yeah, sure, it worked out today, but yesterday when we were waiting for the ECB, the exact opposite would have happened. You would have got blown out of the trade. So you have to stick with your guns, and that's the hardest thing to do when things are slow like this. You want to tinker with your system, tinker, make something work, and you have to stick with what got you here. But you can't stick with it to the very end. I mean, you do have to tinker, but you can't tinker just so you can get in the trades, I guess is what I should say. And yeah, the Great Britain, New Zealand, same thing. It looked good today, but if I had done the same thing yesterday on that move, I guess it would have been there at 5:30. It would have gone down, then you would have had a pop higher. I mean, it would have just been a disaster. And so today, same thing. We had the news that came out, and then that huge spike of that is an incredibly bullish candle, the way that finished up, and it just actually didn't materialize, and it kept going down, so there wasn't any trades there. And then in the Aussie crosses, we can look at the same thing, and we just need to get a little bit more action in these crosses. Same thing, you can see that at 8:30 you had to push higher, but the ATR had already been struck in that pair, and same with the Euro Oz. I guess I can show you if I can find it on here. Euro Oz. The chart seems to be missing at the moment here. We'll just go over here and do it this way. The Euro Oz, you can see it's probably going to be very similar. We had the 8:30 move, but you see it had already moved down in the Asian trading. And that, once again, like I said, is also, because the range is so narrow, it looks like it's a greater move than it is. It's just you have to stick with your guns, stick with your rules. But let's take a look at the bigger picture, because that gives us an idea of what's going on in these pairs. And we'll first start off with the Great Britain USD. And the Great Britain USD totally changed my concept on this chart today. I thought we had the trend line break, and as long as the pair remains above 154.30, it does favor a continued move higher. And don't worry about this trend line. This is just a new one that I found off these levels, because I mean the one we were using before was from right there to there. I mean, I guess it's a longer trend line, but and I would tell you the truth, I don't really like the trend lines. They work. They don't work. Sometimes they break the trend line right here, and then they'll continue to move higher. It's just something I use as an indicator. Anyways, but you can also see now that this pair has been sitting in this range for almost a month, between 154.30 and 157.50, just bouncing around. So I'm willing to bet that once we get up to the top of this range, we could just move right back down, and we'll have to see. And if that's the case, it would be a nice double top, and we could see a little bit of momentum down towards the bottom. But right now the pair is just sitting mid-range, and there's really nothing to do. The Euro USD, we had that break, of course, of the 132. Didn't get much momentum on that. Well, we did. I guess we had momentum down to 131, but now the pair is getting back up. But it is settling below 132. Have to keep that in mind. And if we get a good stop here, good close here, the range will be between 132 and 130, and then maybe more likely 132 and 127.50. And that's what we'll keep our eye on with this cross heading into the new week. 132 will be the key that I'll be focusing on. The Aussie, on the other hand, we had a break of this trend line, just like in the Great Britain Aussie. We had the trend line break this week, but we haven't had too much momentum follow through with the break of the line, and we'll have to see, because we could just be actually consolidating in a larger range. So we see right here in the Aussie, I mean, look, we had the trend line break. Oh my gosh, we're not making higher lows, lower lows, but we're still below 192.30. We need a break of that to break the trend to confirm that the pair could be moving back up. But on the other hand, we could just be consolidating in this range between 92.30 and 87.80. It's actually even narrow between, let's say, 89 and 92. The pair has been consolidating in that range for about a month. We've basically just been going sideways, and in a slow fashion, and we'll have to see what happens there. And very similar probably in New Zealand, without even looking at it, you can see that this pair actually has been range bounding quite a bit. But it's still consolidating, but it's great. I mean, if you wanted to, there was a lot of pips to be made here. We moved down so quickly last week that I said actually last Friday that we're going to probably have to give some back before we see what happens. And we didn't just give some back; we gave up 260 pips, so 270 pips, and kicking myself for not making that trade. Not that I would normally even make these range trades or these swing trades, but you have to keep them in context because there's been some really nice, easy ones lately. Like I said, the euro with this break of 132 could be easy just to go short from that point. The Aussie, there's not much you can say. The trend line break here, you would be long at that point. You'd be break even. This New Zealand, though, just following the trends, you could have gone short there. I mean, that was pretty obvious too. With that candle, right there, with that, you would be in here around 78, so it'd be up about 200 pips right now. US JPY, we had the channel break, and this was another one. You could have gotten right there, and with the daily close above that level, but you'd be about break even now. 100 is a bitch in this pair. It doesn't want to break above it. Doesn't really want to do much. It just wants to go sideways, and until we get a break of 100, and it might be comfortable at 100, 100 may be being protected, who knows, but until we get a break of 100, we're probably going to get this lazy trading, and it's going to be hard to trade in the Euro JPY and the Great Britain JPY. The Euro JPY, if we look on the daily chart, still in this range, and that's basically just an exaggerated showing of the narrowing of the Aussie range. Boom, 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 swing back and forth. Great Britain JPY, not in a range so much. I mean, not in a triangle like the. Not in a triangle, but you can see that this pair is not going anywhere fast either. It broke above that 154.60 level. I was pretty sure we'd get 156.75, right back at 154.60. So, but it is still above 154.60, which does favor the move higher. But like you can see on this, we're not going anywhere fast. I don't remember if I already did. Yeah, the Great Britain, I already showed you the trend line break, similar to the Aussie. The Euro New Zealand, what do we have there? Going into the new week, this is a nice setup. We were just talking about how the New Zealand bounce had that nice bounce off that range there. Well, what do we have here? Euro New Zealand right at the range, and it's bounced off this level once, twice. This could be a third time, and if we do, there's a lot of pips there. There's from, let's say, 65 up to 600 pips, and this pair has just moved. So that's something I'm definitely keeping a look at on Monday to see if we get a bounce in there, and I'd love to get in these trades. And they look so great, but everything's happening in Asia. The Great Britain, New Zealand, on the other hand, we'll look at the one-day chart, and you can see it has just been sitting inside a range, and it looks like the pair is going down, testing about the middle of the range at the 195 level. All right, that's all we have for today. I know there is another chart here we should be looking at. Euro JPY. Let's see, Euro JPY, Great Britain JA, Euro New Zealand, Great Britain 0, Euro odd, Great Britain odd. I don't know. I know we have a nice range break on one of these pairs. Here it is, the Euro New Zealand. This pair, I like this chart. It's simple, and it just makes sense. The pair's below 140.40, favors a continued move higher. Watching this range right here. All right, everybody. Can't continue not making trades forever. Pick up, and like I said, you only need 4 or 5 great days in a month. Beating like a king. Well, living like a king. All right, everybody, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys in the AM on Monday.